Hello and welcome. My name is Steph Bellissimo and I'm glad you're here. This is a 30-minute yoga class. The goal for this class is for you to have super happy hips and shoulders by the end of our time together. We're going to start off right away with some movement with the focus on the hips. So go ahead and spread your legs a little wider than your shoulders and place your hands on your hips and start to circle your hips around and around. Try to make the circles smooth and as big as they can go. So if you start to feel your hips making more of a pentagon or an octagon, try to curve out any corners. Breathe. And then in the next few moments, when it feels natural for you to do so, switch the direction of your circles. Throughout this class today, if you catch yourself holding your breath or gritting your teeth or doing anything where you're accumulating unnecessary excess tension, I want you to try and let that dissipate. Go ahead and switch the direction again. Maybe you start to make your circles a little bit fuller. The goal here isn't to build any strain in your back or any other part of your body, but do try to make them really, really big. Many of our joints love to be circled, so you're doing yourself a real service doing this. Switch the direction, same thing, as big as you can make them comfortably. We'll go one more time in this direction and then let it go. You can walk your feet in just a little bit. We'll turn our attention to our shoulders now. I want you to lift your shoulders up towards your ears, bring them around your back, slide them down and move them forwards. Make them as big as you can, make these circles, I should say, as big as you can. You might add in a little bend of your knees when it feels natural for you to do that. You're still breathing, of course. We'll go one more time in this direction and then switch the direction. Again, your shoulders go up, they circle forwards, they come down and around back. You might keep your legs straight. I kind of like to bend and straighten my legs because it feels a little bit like I'm moving to a rhythm. You're breathing. We'll go one more time like this. And then switch the direction again. This time move your whole arm, both arms, around in circles, really big. Imagine you had, two paintbrushes in either hand and you're trying to draw the most beautiful, biggest, colorful circles you can on either sides of your body. Getting our shoulders nice and warm. One more time this direction, and then we'll switch. Let your breath be full but not effortful. Go one more time in this direction. Awesome. Shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. Now that we've done just a little bit of movement to warm ourselves up, go ahead and stand in mountain pose. Your feet will go flat on the floor, your palms will be open, your fingers will be energized. I want you to close your eyes. Stand with a sense of purpose, with a sense of focus, and notice how you're breathing at this point. Notice the sound of your breath inside your ears. Notice the way that you're standing at this point. Perhaps your posture has already started to shift just with that little bit of moving around. Let yourself settle. Let yourself feel the support of the ground underneath your feet. And take about 5 more slow, full breath cycles where you breathe in completely and then you let it go. And again, you inhale and you exhale. Fill your lungs and empty them. Breathe in and breathe out. One more time. Inhale and exhale. Awesome. Open your eyes. If you have a yoga mat down, come to the front of your yoga mat and stand once again in mountain pose. We're gonna move through several rounds of the sun salutation to wake up the rest of our body. The sun salutation is a sequence of movements and poses that will take us down to the ground and then back up to standing. Follow along, you can listen and watch me do it as we go. We'll start with an inhale breath. Arms go overhead. On your exhale, bow forwards, reach for the floor and release your head down. On your inhale, lift up halfway. On your exhale, hands will go to the floor, step or jump back to a push-up position. You can keep your knees lifted or lower them down for a little more support. Take an inhale breath. And slowly with control, bend your elbows and bring your body to the ground. Untuck your toes. Inhale, cobra pose. Lift your face, throat, and chest, but try not to strain your low back. Exhale, we'll go to child's pose for this variation of the sun salutation. Inhale, come forwards to your tabletop. Tuck your toes. Lift your knees and exhale your way into downward facing dog. Now, if this is your first downward facing dog of the day or the first one you've done in a while, it might feel really nice to pedal your heels, one and then the next down towards the ground. Likewise, it might feel good to shimmy your shoulders or sway your hips a little bit just to wake your down dog up. If you're moving around, make your way into stillness for one final moment. And then the next time you breathe in, step or jump your way into a standing forward fold. Exhale. Inhale, you'll lift halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise all the way up to stand. Stretch and really reach your arms up like you mean it. And then on your breath out, bring your hands through your center, palm against palm, and back down to mountain pose. We'll begin again. Inhale, arm stretch. On your exhale, bow. When you breathe in, lift halfway. On your exhale, bow, make your way into plank pose, your variation of plank, knees up or down. Take an inhale here. On your exhale, lower to the ground with control. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, child's pose. On your inhale, make your way to tabletop. Tuck your toes, lift your knees. Exhale, downward facing dog. Once again, maybe this is your second downward facing dog of the day. It might feel amazing to pedal your heels, bend and straighten your knees, shimmy your shoulders, sway your hips. Move a little bit here. Wake yourself up to this shape. And then go ahead and find some stillness. The next time you breathe in, you can step or jump forwards, standing forward fold. Bow. Lift halfway on your next inhale. And you bow. Root your feet down as you rise to stand and stretch your arms up high. Inhale. And then gather your hands together right in front of your center. Exhale. Back to mountain pose you go. We'll do this one more time. Inhale, arms stretch. On your exhale, bow. Inhale, lift halfway. When you exhale, bow, step or jump back to your plank position. Inhale here for steadiness. On your exhale, lower down with control. Inhale, cobra. Exhale into your child's pose. When you breathe in, shift forwards, tabletop. And when you breathe out, downward facing dog. This time stay in stillness in your down dog. And I want you to notice how your shoulders feel here. Your shoulders have to do a good amount of work in downward facing dog to keep you in this shape. Notice how they feel. And then likewise, notice how your hips feel in your downward facing dog. Take one more breath in and a very complete breath out. Step or jump forwards, standing forward fold. The next time you inhale, lift halfway and bow. Rise to stand, stretch, reach, breathe. And then bring your hands through your center and down to your sides. And just like we did before we started the sun salutations, I want you to close your eyes for just a moment. And notice how you're breathing. Notice the sound of your breath. Notice the feeling of your breath as it washes over and through you. Notice how you're standing. Notice your posture. Perhaps you can clue into how your standing posture has changed. Even though we're only halfway through class, maybe you're already able to sense some differences. We'll take 5 more breaths here. Breathe in and let it go. Inhale fully and exhale completely. Fill your lungs and empty them. Breathe in and breathe out. One more time. Inhale and exhale. Step your right foot forwards. Your left foot will go backwards. We'll set up in a Warrior Two stance. I really like Warrior Two as a way to both offer an opening sensation or a stretch for parts of the hips, and it's also a really great opportunity to feel strong, particularly in the back side of the pelvis, the back of the hips. So try not to let your back arch. Try not to let your body round forward. Stand really strong and steady from your leg, from your feet, I should say, all the way up through your legs and into your hips. Your arms are gonna go out to your sides, Warrior number 2. And then right away, we're gonna visit side angle pose. Your right arm comes to your right thigh. Your left hand can go all the way up towards the sky like this. You can stay here. If you happen to have a yoga block handy, which I do, or something that could act like a yoga block, you can place that on the ground and put your right hand on top of the block. This might give you a little extra stretch. And for anybody that can maintain the integrity of their legs in this shape without pitching forwards or sending their hips back, you might bring your hand all the way to the ground. Now, put your attention on your left arm. Hips are strong, legs are strong. We're gonna circle our left arm 3 times in each direction. Really big circles, similar to what we did earlier standing. See how big you can make your circles, as if you were drawing the most beautiful, glorious circle in your favorite color on a canvas. Switch the direction. You breathe. Do your 3rd circle in that direction. We'll rise back up to Warrior Two. Make a brief visit into Reverse Warrior just to stretch out the front of the right hip. Keep your right knee bending. And then we'll rise back up. Turn your right toes so they face forwards. Hands are gonna go to your waist. Inhale, lift your chest, lift your sternum, lift your throat, your face. Maybe you send your hips forward so you can go into a bit of a back bend. And then exhale, hands are gonna come down to the ground, standing wide leg fold. See if you can get to a place where your head and neck can relax completely. Try shaking your head no and nodding your head yes. Interlace your fingers behind your back. Here's our first really big stretch for the shoulders. Try to close the gap between your palms and reach your knuckles as far away from your low back as you comfortably can. Try to keep your jaw relaxed. You breathe. Release the clasp of your hands. Bring your hands to the ground, lift yourself up halfway. Hands to your hips, rise to stand. Warrior number 2, this time on the left side. I'm just gonna turn my left toes this way. If you need to reorganize yourself on your mat, that's fine. Warrior number 2, arms are gonna go out along the length of your legs. Remember, this is a really big stretch for the legs and the hips, as well as an opportunity for your hips to feel very strong and steady. See if you can find that balance. Take an inhale breath here. Keep the stability and the openness in your legs as you transition into your side angle. Once again, side angle can be right here. You can bring your left hand down to a block. You can reach all the way down to the ground. 3 big circles for your right arm. Don't lose the integrity of your legs. Keep your hips strong and open. 3 circles in each direction. Let your right arm really move here. Reach as you circle. Let it feel luxurious. Switch the direction. One more time this way. Until you rise all the way back up to your warrior 2. Reverse your warrior just for a moment. Let the left hip stretch for a moment, the front of the left hip. And then we'll let it go. Point both sets of toes forwards. Hands will go to your waist. Anchor your hips down here. This is kind of a nice trick. You can kind of pull your hands like you're sort of anchoring, reaching your hips down towards the ground as you send your pelvis forwards in order to feel like a little bit of a lift could happen in your back as you reach your head up and back. Nice gentle back bend, and we fold. Hinge at your hips, your hands will go to the ground. Once again, see if you can get to a place where your head and neck can relax. This time, go ahead and place your right hand right in the center where your feet are. So if you look at your feet, just go right in the center. That's where your hand goes. Your left arm, meanwhile, is going to reach out to the left and open. Revolved standing wide leg pose. Okay. Once you get into your revolved position, I want you to check and see if you've shifted your hips. See if instead you can imagine balancing a glass of water on the back of your pelvis, because I want this position right now to be about you moving through your upper back and your shoulders, not your hips and your low back. See if you can direct your breath to the back of your lungs. If I were in the room with you, I might gently ask if I could put my handprint on your shoulder blades, and you could visualize my handprint rising and falling on your shoulder blades with your breath. And then we'll let that go, and you'll have an opportunity to practice this and try this on the other side. So the left hand goes down to the floor, right arm will go out to the side and up. Revolve standing wide leg pose. Remember, try not to shift your hips for this variation of the wide leg twist. Keep your hips steady. And then picture your breath traveling backwards so you can stay in the shape a little longer. What I mean by this is visualize and see if you can feel your breath moving back here. So when you take your breaths in, you're picturing in your mind's eye that your breath could travel backwards rather than just encompass the front of your lungs, okay? 1 or 2 more cycles of breath. And then when the moment's right for you, let it go. From here, heel toe your feet a little closer together. You can bend your knees as much as you comfortably can. See if you can keep your heels flat on the floor. If you can't, that's okay. If you happen to have a bolster or a pillow nearby, this might be an opportunity for you to place the bolster underneath your heels. Sometimes a little lift in the heels can help us get a little deeper into a squat position. So if that happens to be something that's at your disposal, you can reach for that now. We'll go down into a squat as low as you can comfortably go. Hands to the ground, back up to a standing fold. Lower down into your squat. Keep breathing. And then rise up with your hips as your hands go down, standing forward fold. We'll do this just a couple more times. Visit the squat and lower your hands down so you can reach into the standing fold. And one more time. Hips lower. Find your variation of a squat. Back to the standing fold. Now, since we've warmed up our shoulders quite a bit, for anybody that's ready and wanting to challenge the strength of their shoulders, you can visit crow pose. Now, I'm gonna show another option for people who are not interested in visiting crow pose. So for people that are not wanting to try balancing on their hands today, you can take a horse stance or goddess pose. Bring your hands like this to your inner knees, inner thighs, and then stretch your shoulders out a little bit more by dipping one shoulder in and then the next. You can do this a few times. For people that want to try crow pose, you'll come down towards your squat. This time your heels do lift. Your knees go high towards your armpits. You start to bend your elbows, your body moves forwards. This might be crow pose for you. You can try lifting one leg off the ground. If that's feeling solid, you might try lifting both legs off the ground. Whatever variation of crow pose you're choosing, see if you can take 1 or 2 more breaths. And then when you're ready to touch back down and land on solid ground, see if you can do so as tenderly and as smoothly as possible. And then let's all take a seat. Nice work. Come on down to the ground. Bring your legs in front of you. Widen them a little bit. You can take your hands behind you. Squatting into a deep squat position can be both a big stretch, but also can be fairly strenuous. So let's loosen up our hips a little bit by just knocking our feet in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. Try not to be so precious with this. Just let your feet knock in, out, in, out, in, out. See if you can carry the movement of your feet and let it kind of trail all the way up to your hip sockets. And go ahead and bend your knees. Keep your feet pretty wide. And then you'll dip your right knee in and your left knee to the left. So right knee dips in, left knee goes left. Already for some people, you might feel a stretch somewhere on your upper thigh, maybe your inner or outer hip. I'm talking specifically about the right hip right now. For others, you might need to play a little bit here by dipping your pelvis back or forward. So I'm at the expense of not being super close to a camera. I will do my best to describe this because I'm not sure if you can see it. It's pretty subtle, but what I'm trying to do is reach my sitting bone back towards the ground and then moving my hip as far forwards as I can. And sometimes this brings about a better stretch if I do it with some movement. We'll do that one more time. And we'll go the other direction. Knees go up and over to your right. We'll focus on the left hip this time. Again, some people might feel a stretch already really nice on the hip on the left. Others might need to move the pelvis. This is the left side of the pelvis, forwards and back, forwards and back. Again, the movement's kind of subtle, so see what you can do. See how much movement you can get here, moving your left hip forwards and back. Just a couple more times. This is actually one of my favorite things to do if I've been sitting in a chair for a long time or if I just went on a long drive. I love coming down to the ground and just moving my hips, sitting in this zigzag seat. Feels so good. One more time. And then let it go. Come on into a downward facing dog. If you have a yoga block or a bolster or pillow handy, you can bring those near you. Lift your right leg, breathe. Take a nice breath in. And then for those that are wanting a really pretty significant outer hip stretch, you can move into pigeon pose. Now, I say for those that are wanting because I'm sure we all want a nice outer hip stretch, and I know that pigeon doesn't work for every body, so I'm gonna show pigeon pose and then I'll give other people an opportunity to find a different way to stretch the outer right hip. Now for pigeon, you might take your bolster or pillow and slide it underneath your right hip so that it has some support. The farther you move your right foot forwards, the more likely it is that you'll probably feel a stretch in your outer right hip that grows and grows and grows. So if you want to feel more of a stretch, you can move your foot forwards. You can stay just like this. And if you have another block or something that you can put your forehead on in front of you, go ahead and bow forwards and take a bowed pigeon. So this is option number one. Remember to breathe, try not to grit your teeth. Option number two for people who don't love pigeon, I know there's a few of you out there, you can take reclined figure four. Your right ankle comes onto your left thigh. You can bring your left leg close to your body like this. If that's enough stretch, great. If you want to get a little bit more stretch for your outer hip, go ahead and hold your left hamstrings and gently pull your left leg close to you. So no matter whether you're in the pigeon right now or the reclined figure four, I want you to relax your shoulders, relax your face muscles. Try to even relax your tongue inside your mouth. And we'll take about 5 more breaths. Breathe in and let it go. Fill your lungs and empty them. Breathe in and breathe out. Inhale fully and exhale completely. And then one more time. Breathe in and let it go. Very tenderly, let your body move away from the shape that it's in. If you're in reclined figure four, go ahead and come on up. If you're in pigeon pose, make your way back to a down dog, which is where we will meet. Okay, you can stay in the downward dog if this is feeling amazing. For those that want to stretch the front of the hip a little bit more specifically, you can lift your right leg, bend your right knee, and flip your downward facing dog upside down. This is not something that everybody will want to do, and that's totally fine, but for those that want it, a flipped dog is a real luxury. So go ahead and take it for just a moment. And then make your way out. Second side, pigeon or reclined figure four. You can lift your left leg. Move your left knee forwards and down. Once again, you might prop your left hip with a bolster or a pillow. And if you'd like to, you can move your left foot forwards to increase the stretch sensation in your outer left hip. And then if you have another block or something to put your forehead on, by all means, forward you may go. Okay, and then for anybody that wants the reclined figure four, this time it's your left ankle that goes over your right thigh. Once you are in the shape that works for you to get a really nice, juicy outer hip stretch, let's take about 5 more breaths. Fill your lungs and empty them completely. Inhale And exhale. Breathe in and breathe out. Inhale and exhale. One more time, fill your lungs and then let it go. Make your way out of the shape that you're in. We'll all meet back in the downward facing dog. You can stay just like this in your downward facing dog. Some of you might enjoy taking the flip dog. This time it'd be the left leg that lifts, the left foot that dips behind. The hips still rise, the right shoulder is really strong, and luxuriate. And then let it go. Unwind yourself with care. Bring your knees to the ground. Widen your knees, bring your feet together for a wide leg child's pose. Pause here. See if you can arrive in some amount of stillness, at least in your physical body. Let your body become still and quiet so that you can bring your awareness and your attention back to the sound of your breath and the feeling of your breath as it moves into and through you. Let your body settle. Watch what happens to your mind when your body settles. And allow yourself to be really peaceful, really quiet, really relaxed. Now, handprint by handprint, walk your hands closer to your legs and make your way eventually to a seated position, any seated position that's comfortable for you. See if you can let your shoulders just rest on your back. Relax the muscles of your face. And just as a quick check-in, today's class was centered around moving and feeling strong in both the shoulders and the hips. Notice how your shoulders feel right now. Notice how it feels to sit with your hips anchored somewhere down near the floor. Maybe things have shifted a little bit for you. Again, my hope was that you could turn the volume dial up on happiness for your shoulders and your hips through going through this class. And I want to thank you for participating, for being here. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Again, my name is Steph Bellissimo. Have a wonderful rest of your day.